Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we review and discuss your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, world-famous juggler Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Ozzy, with that extra day of trivia?
That extra day of trivia. You are so correct, Greg. As this episode is being filmed, as this episode is airing, I will be in Lake Forest, of course, for that fourth night of trivia beginning Mondays at the Rush Bar and Grill in Lake Forest every Monday night beginning at 6:30. However, right now, also, there was world-famous juggler Greg Larson, and also with me, of course, no BS Flesh Wound producer Todd.
Good evening.
No BS tonight, that is. Usually, you can tell, as just proven, because usually he just says he's chilling. What did he just say, Greg? What did he just say?
Good evening.
When have you ever said that, Todd?
Who are you?
Yeah.
What have you done with
what's
Todd?
going on? Anyway, this week we do have the pleasure of reviewing and discussing the 1986 film Body Slam. Todd, do you have a trailer available?
I do.
Let's roll it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Oh no.
Wah,
So
wah.
if this, I mean, we picked this movie because it's WrestleMania weekend that just occurred, right? So with Todd not having the trailer ready,
Botchamania.
You're a
There you go.
big-time music business personal manager. Maybe a little down on your luck. But you're working on a big deal. Maybe things will change for you.
Hi. What do you want from me?
$67,811.19 to be very specific.
You're making the big
Hey,
moves.
Scotty, how you doing? No, whatever it is, the answer is absolutely not.
I've been thinking about our relationship.
What relationship?
Message for you, Mr. Smilak.
But things could be better. Maybe you ought to branch out a little.
I need someone who takes no crap. Tough.
Maybe you're on your way back to the top.
Smilak, at your service.
We've got something for you.
What's that?
From the director of Smokey and the Bandit, Body Slam.
Do something! Stay right there!
It's the outrageous comedy where wrestling meets rock and roll, and a loser becomes a legend.
You don't need music to rock. You need...
Smilak, what is that, a stomach disorder or a disease?
Oh, careful, Tennessee.
This, Mr. Smilak.
I should have stayed in the music business.
You're a dead man, Smilak. And you heard it here, folks on Recall. Two top managers. I can't know about you, but I can't.
Body Slam, starring the A-Team's Dirk Benedict, Tanya Roberts, Roddy Piper, Tonga Tom, Captain Lou Albano, and a host of familiar faces, twisted arms, broken legs, stubbed toes, fractured thumbs, aching backs, and lots of laughs. Body Slam.
It's wrestling for wit.
Okay.
All right.
This trailer had a hard time. All right, that was the trailer for Body Slam, released on November 21st, 1986. Rated PG, but this is an 80s PG, so
Right.
proceed with caution. Runtime of 92 minutes, directed by Hal Needham, written by Shel Lighton and Steve Burkow, starring Dirk Benedict, Tanya Roberts, Roddy Piper, and the Tonga Kid. Tonga Tom was his name in the movie. Now, I did initial thoughts on this. This is my first time seeing it. I was very excited to review it, but when doing the research on it in terms of the writers and directors, as the trailer said, Smokey and the Bandits, Hal Needham, but the writers piqued my interest, mainly because the story was by Shel Lighton, right? and his only other writing credit were 2 episodes of the Death Valley Days in 1952. So
I don't even know what that is.
yes, exactly. Okay, the only reason I know Death Valley Days is, I'm fairly certain, is because of the Born in East LA song. Because Death Valley Days is mentioned in the, like, who's the president of the United States? Oh, that guy who's on Death Valley Days, John Wayne, right? That's the only reason I know what Death Valley Days is. Now the other writer, Steve Burkow, his only other writing credit was 1 episode of a soap opera of All My Children in 1986. Basically, what my point being is that the movie is kind of a parallel to, I think, how the writers were hoping their careers would pan out. Because the movie, it's starring Dirk Benedict, right? As I mentioned, as Face. Now, as a wrestling fan, what I found most amusing about it is that it felt like the backstory of a traditional wrestling manager. Like, you could see Dirk Benedict come in as this character, and you would just buy him as a wrestling manager. Like, he got that right in his character. So it then became, man, like, I'm not laughing so much, but where is this going? Like, I'm intrigued. I want to see. I was interested in what was happening. I was laughing a whole lot at the beginning. I was actually laughing more at the racist and homophobic undertones. Yeah, as mentioned,
from the director of Smokey and the Bandit. What?
Right. But I'm sorry, kind of jumped all over the place. Greg, initial thoughts?
Yeah, no, this is one I'd never seen. As someone who went through a plethora of interesting, I don't want to say wonderful, but interesting wrestling films such as Suburban Commando and, Mr. Nanny and all those.
Those aren't wrestling films. Those are films featuring
films
wrestlers.
with wrestlers. Yes.
No
holds barred. Yes, there we go.
Okay, no holds barred. Yeah, there you go.
But all those films with wrestlers that were pre Dwayne Johnson, in which he actually has some skill. I was very interested. I was excited to see what this film was. I saw Roddy Piper was in it, who is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Of course, we saw Ric Flair and San Martino in there, so we saw some great names, but yeah.
Todd?
Not my first viewing. I actually own this on Blu-ray.
You would.
It's funny. Last time I watched it, I didn't have a good time with it. Shocker. This time, I couldn't stop laughing.
The tough part with it is, if you're not a wrestling fan, you're gonna have a tough time. If you were a fan of the WWF back in the 80s and all about Bobby Heenan, and you would be really intrigued at this main character,
right?
Because this seems like such like a, now we're gonna follow the backstory of Slick, or just like,
oh my god,
I'm not saying specific. I just said specifically Slick, but I mean, like, like if cameras followed a manager outside wrestling, this was what you could see, right? And what I did love is seeing a very raucous crowd. That's fun to see. But I just wanted to say one thing, because Greg, you mentioned Ric Flair's in the movie. The trailer mentioned Ric Flair's in the movie, and Bruno San Martino and Classy Freddie Blassie, but I kind of just happens towards the end. But I will. What had me thinking during that scene, because in the trailer you see chaos break out, and while you had seen Ric Flair in the crowd, you don't see Ric Flair involved in the chaos, nor do you see the female he was with involved in the chaos. If you catch my drift, Ric Flair was being Ric Flair, if you know what I mean.
So was Freddie Blassie.
Fair point.
He took a nice view, like a look down.
So also fun to see Chick Hearn
Yeah.
call a wrestling match just because I grew up with him. Like, even if it was in this movie, I grew up with him calling Lakers games, right?
Yeah.
So it was George Costanza, worlds are colliding in my brain, hearing
Right.
Chick Hearn, call wrestling, but that was a treat to see. But going into the favorite moments of here, it was the scene that takes place at the fundraiser. What immediately follows that, you see a pair of newspapers. One says Wilshire says the Ayatollah did it, and the other says Wilshire says he blames the commies. And at the that just got me going, just because politicians were so quick to blame
Right.
international bodies as opposed to like opponents to today. But I just felt like a moment of, and well, I mean, ultimately wrestling is about like, where does the realism end and where does the work begin, to where that line is blurred. So in watching this movie, if you can see a little bit of realism in a world that is fantasy, it tickles something in your brain, right? So that's what happened with me in that moment. Greg?
Oh man, it's a tough one. There's a moment though that I did have a little bit of a chuckle. Piper is always known for mouthing off. Piper's one of the greatest, not only wrestlers, but just people on a mic. So when he mentioned when was the last time you've been milked, like I was just like that's a classic Piper moment, and I had a good laugh at that. But I just have to say, seeing some legends in that arena, seeing some legends in this film, getting
I popped for Barbarian. That was cool.
Yeah, just knowing, hey, you got a few bucks, good for you, man, you deserve it. That had to be my favorite bit from this.
Todd?
Can I just pick Captain Lou Moreno for the whole thing?
I actually just see your title there is changed to producer Lou Morano.
I'm pretty sure he was Waluigi throughout this, or Wario through this film.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, every time he had me going, even just his name, that's like the only thing he did was tweak the last name to sound exactly alike.
It was a treat anytime Piper and even of course Lou Albano, but even when Tonga Kid was on screen, because they treated like, I don't know, they didn't have to be acting so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Especially when Tonga delivered the line in the hospital, is like, hey, what'd you think of our fight? Or how'd you like the fight? Just that verbiage alone was just like such a like small, like, well, this is cool, right? But a funny line to see chaos ensuing in the ring with who it was, the tag team champions attacking with the chain. I can't remember what their names were, but you had Chick Hearn saying, is anyone gonna help stop this? This is complete chaos. This is sending professional wrestling back 1,000 years. And it just made me laugh. I was like, man, wait till 2023. You think this is bad?
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy. So now I have two separate ratings for this. It's tough because, as I mentioned earlier, if I was not a wrestling fan, I would have a very tough time with it. And I'd probably go lean towards a 2.5 if I was not a wrestling fan. But because I grew up a wrestling fan, I enamored in this world, right? It bumped it up to a 4.5 for me, just because of the level of fun I had with it and the level of intrigue I had. And like, okay, come on, let's go. Not to mention, as Greg, you said, Roddy Piper. I mean, come on, right? So it bumps it up to that for me, just because I grew up on watching some of these guys. And of course, not to mention Afa and Sika as the two henchmen to the Korean.
Right.
That was just like, oh man, this is cool. Like, so
some of the
Greg.
greatest, most bad A guys that are out there. I'm trying to help you, Todd. But yeah, it's such a weird film because it was not great. Like, if I'm honest, it was not a great film. Like, I'd give this a 2. If I were if I were just basing on the film itself. But as someone who saw some legends, as someone who saw Piper getting on a mic again, like it really does boost it up. I can't give it that great of a score, but I have to at least give it 3.5, just because I loved seeing some of the greatest of the great wrestlers out there getting a good payday and also getting some good mic time. So 3.5 would be my overall personal score.
Todd?
Yeah, this is one, like I said, last time I was kind of like, this time I really got into it. And I don't know, I kind of thought of it more as like a TV movie. It has that kind of feel, or even just a TV. It has that era's vibe.
Straight to streaming.
Yeah, right.
right.
Oh yeah, for the young ones.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I do like it now, and I think a 3 for me.
As both a non-wrestling fan and a wrestling fan?
Oh, a non-wrestling fan's gonna give it like a 0.
I
I think you guys are really
honest.
with the
Yeah, maybe I'm being too generous just because it was my first viewing, and then of course seeing Roddy Piper again is like,
unless they're like a real big A-Team fan or Tanya Roberts. There are Tanya Roberts fans.
Okay, it's totally face because I grew up watching the A-Team.
Right.
So seeing a bunch of Dirk Benedict on the screen wasn't really bothering me and probably made me feel more like a child.
Right.
Just bring me back to those days. And then seeing that world combined with Roddy Piper probably did it for me. So there you go.
It's like a face side story because he basically is doing
It's the same exact character as his A-Team character. It is face. He just doesn't get away with as much stuff.
Right.
That's basically the only difference.
Right.
Now, this is available to stream on Tubi with ads.
Yes.
And it does. Todd, is this available for purchase?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm checking just
You
watch
shouldn't.
here.
Yeah,
But
I
it
believe
is.
it is. I believe it is. Confirm that then. Check.
Because I'm on justwatch.com, right? Checking Body
Yes.
Slam. It only has the stream listed. It doesn't have the buy option listed.
Okay. Are you at a specific resolution? No, well, it's not on there anyway. I'm just confirming.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you have it at 4K, they won't show up or stuff like that.
Oh, I see. But yeah, it is available to stream on Tubi with ads if you are inclined to do so. Now, what's interesting is that we did choose this film because this was in honor of WrestleMania happening this weekend. And
Whatever happened, I'm mad.
well, whatever happened, I'm going to have mechanical laryngitis over from screaming so much the night prior because I was at SoFi Stadium last night.
So was Pugs.
Second night of WrestleMania too. So
Excellent.
we'll see how that goes. Now, okay, but we can't comment on anything going on this WrestleMania, but this is WrestleMania weekend in a sense. So
it's
I'm gonna throw
after Mania.
Yeah, right. I'm just gonna throw out this question and surprise you guys. Favorite WrestleMania moment?
Oh man.
Yeah, it's shocker, right?
Oh.
Damn, Ozzy. We weren't prepared for this.
I know
weren't.
that's the best part.
Honestly, like there's a lot of wrestlers I like more, but Seth Rollins coming out during the Brock Lesnar match and going through and winning the championship within that, like that is one of my most favorite moments because it was a long-term story that really hit well.
Yeah, I gotcha. Todd?
I had it, then I lost it.
Well, I can just go ahead. And
Please.
come back to you.
Hopefully.
It was Hogan Rock WrestleMania 18.
Oh,
every time I see that match, I know what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna look like, but just when they first step to each other and the crowd is like going back and forth, like just siding with one, then deciding to the other. It's just like, man, this is it. If you look at like the entire story timeline of professional wrestling, that would be such a huge crux right there, that it seemed like such a historic moment. That was like, that was Hogan Andre, that was Hogan Ultimate Warrior, that was the next, like, Jesus, like
it was eras colliding.
Right. It was.
I'm gonna, well, that one's hard to beat, and I'm not saying this beats it, but I'm gonna throw this one out there. Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 14.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, yeah.
That, I mean, even though it was a fast count, that pop was amazing.
Yeah.
After him winning it.
Also, WrestleMania 28. I'm sorry, just to add that in, when that moment where you have Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, and Triple H all having their last call there, like, that's such like icons of wrestling. All having a great moment together is fantastic.
Sean Flair.
Yeah.
It's another one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking back like 92 years. I was like, when is that? Oh yeah, right. Their last one. I kept thinking, to be honest, like I was thinking back towards the earlier times just now and seeing Brett win the title against Yokozuna after losing to Owen Hart earlier that night.
Don't do that.
And then seeing Owen walk out and then seeing Brett on everybody's shoulders, just like, oh man, that was tense, right? Sorry, Greg, why'd you say?
I had a moment. So I'm in the Bay Area of California, and there was a wonderful, wonderful event. It was just, I don't know if it was a Raw. No, it couldn't have been a Raw. I don't know if it was a televised show or house show or whatever.
Or a PLE.
Right. Don't. Those didn't exist. I hate PLEs. It will always be a pay-per-view. Screw it.
Premium.
I apologize. Premium live event. But Greg, the moment you are paying per view, then you could call it a pay-per-view.
No. I was not paying TV wise. I was at the event. I was a young boy watching Hulk Hogan get beat by Yokozuna. No matter what my thoughts are of Hogan at this point in time, at that point, I shed a tear. I was that Miz kid that was upset.
Was that the one with the photographer shooting the fireball into Hogan's eyes?
No. This was, I don't know if this was actually televised, but this was just a moment where Hogan lost to Yokozuna, and it was just that era. And I remember just feeling so.
That had to have been for the title.
Yeah.
Hogan would have only jobbed if it was for the title on his way out. So, which means that was probably King of the Ring 1993.
No, it wasn't that big of a match. It wasn't. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it was televised. You know, this was just a show
just a
in
house
the Bay Area.
And you don't remember? You don't remember who the champion was at the time?
No, I was so young. I don't remember.
Like when I was a kid, Hogan was a champion, and then when he lost it to Ultimate Warrior, that was a big deal. And then all of a sudden, so stupid.
You triggered Todd.
Yeah.
And then the 1992 Royal Rumble, Ric Flair, right? Then Macho Man Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Ric Flair getting it back, and Bret Hart. Like I remembered who the champions were. At least. Do you remember who the champion was at the time that you were going?
I don't know. It was that long ago that
I really want to know, because it's surprising to hear Hogan working a house show so late in his contract.
Well, I was very young. I don't know if that was late in his contract.
Oh, okay, but it was Yokozuna.
Yeah. So it was new era.
They could have been doing a loop and testing out that match, because they were building to that, and then they have to go through their match, and could very well been something they were working on.
Would you say it was in 1993?
93. Let's see, how old would I have been? Yeah, ish.
Because
93, 92.
here's what bothers me is at the end of WrestleMania 9, as we know, Hogan held the tag titles hostage because he wanted to walk out as WWF champion. So what we saw transpire at the end of WrestleMania 9 was brought up on the spot. So if there was any house shows between Hogan and Yokozuna, they had to have occurred after WrestleMania 9.
Wait, was that the garbage of Yokozuna losing to Brett or winning against Brett? And then, yeah, that was garbage. Like, let me tell you.
No, that was Hogan holding the tag title. He told Vince, I want to walk out with the WWF title. If I don't, I'm not going to show up for the tag match.
No, it was definitely before that. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. I really want to find out. You know how the reason why he got his black eye, right?
Why?
Hogan at WrestleMania 9.
I've heard stories. I don't
They
remember.
said it was a gym accident.
Yeah.
But what I had heard was, that Elizabeth was out of town, and when Savage asked Hogan if she was staying at their house, he said no, but she was. So when he found out, he punched him in the face.
There you go.
That's why. So think about that. Savage was doing commentary, and he's calling this match with Hogan's black eye. He's like, "Oh, he had a gym accident." Yeah, he had a gym accident.
My name happens to be Jim today.
Slim Jim.
Todd, points.
And on that note, that concludes our review of Body Slam. Check it out on Tubi if you wish, and feel free to join us for a new episode next week. Greg, Todd, do you have anything else to say before you head out for the evening?
Good evening.
Just happy WrestleMania, everyone.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is world famous juggler Greg Larson and Flesh Wound producer Todd, or in this case, producer Lou Morano. And I am Ozzy V, and we'll see you next week right here on a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce.